The security scanner beeped 3 times in rapid succession. Daniel Ross looked up from his tablet and watched the crowd flowing through the checkpoint. Thousands of delegates from across the galaxy had arrived at Harmony Gate for the Grand Convergence. His job was simple: watch for threats and keep people safe. That he had been doing this work for 8 years now. Earth Defense Force first, then private security contracts. The pay was decent and the work kept him sharp. Today he was assigned to general crowd monitoring while the real action happened in the main hall. Ambassador Patricia Wells had hired his team to provide extra security during the treaty negotiations. Daniel adjusted his earpiece and scanned the diplomatic section. Dragons from a Draconix Imperium sat in the front rows. They were impossible to miss. 12 feet tall with scales that gleamed like polished metal. Wings folded against their backs. Claws that could tear through steel. They had ruled their sector of space for 10,000 years and made sure everyone knew it. Emperor Salazar sat in the center of the dragon delegation, ancient beyond measure. His scales were deep crimson with threads of gold running through them. Amber eyes that had seen empires rise and fall. The dragons had brought their own security team, called the Crimson Talents. Elite warriors who had protected the Emperor for centuries. They stood in a protective circle around Salazar with their backs to the crowd. Daniel had tried to coordinate with them earlier. They had ignored him completely. Humans were newcomers to the galactic community, barely worth noticing in dragon eyes. The Crimson Talons made it clear they did not need help from primitive apes who only discovered faster than light travel 200 years ago. Fine. Daniel could do his job without their cooperation, that he moved along the perimeter and kept his attention on the crowd. Most species here were peaceful. Diplomats and ambassadors who wanted to negotiate trade routes and border agreements. But tensions were high. The Outer Rim treaties would reshape power across dozens of systems. Not everyone wanted peace. High Chancellor Orin took the stage. The bird-like Avix diplomat spread his feathered wings and addressed the assembly. His voice carried through translation devices in a dozen languages. Daniel listened with half his attention while watching the crowd. Something felt wrong, that he could not point to anything specific. Just an instinct developed through years of watching people. A group of insectoid clique delegates sat in the diplomatic section 3 rows behind Emperor Salazar. Their antennae moved in quick jerking patterns. Daniel had worked with clique traders before. Their antennae usually swayed in smooth, rhythmic motions that matched their emotional state. These clique were agitated, nervous. Their body language did not match their calm-seated positions. Daniel keyed his comm unit. Control, this is Ross. I have possible suspicious behavior in Section 7. Can you give me a bioscan on the clique delegation? The response came back negative. All delegates have been scanned at entry. No weapons detected. No biological threats. Daniel frowned and kept watching. Emperor Salazar rose to speak. The entire hall fell silent. When a dragon emperor spoke, people listened. His voice was deep and resonant. He talked about the need for stable trade routes, about cooperation between species, about moving past old prejudices. The irony was not lost on Daniel. Dragons talking about prejudice while treating humans like children. One of the clique delegates reached into a diplomatic pouch. The movement was smooth and practiced. Too smooth. Daniel's instinct screamed danger. He watched the delegate's arm emerge, holding a small cylindrical object. Silver metal with a faint blue glow. Plasma charge weapon. Banned at diplomatic functions. Designed to pierce armor. Designed to kill dragons. Daniel's training took over. He did not think. He acted. The weapon came up. The clique delegate's arm extended toward Emperor Salazar. 40 feet separated Daniel from the Emperor. The Crimson Talons were still facing outward. They had not seen the threat. Daniel ran. His boots pounded against the polished floor. Delegates turned in surprise as a human security guard sprinted through the diplomatic section. The clique delegate's finger moved toward the trigger. Daniel could see everything with crystal clarity. The shocked expressions on nearby faces. The slow turning of dragon guards who were finally noticing the disturbance. Emperor Salazar's amber eyes widening as a human rushed directly at him. The plasma weapon fired that a bolt of superheated energy streaked through the air. Bright blue and absolutely lethal. Daniel threw himself forward in a diving leap. His body intercepted the shot 3 feet from Emperor Salazar's chest. Impact. The plasma bolt hit Daniel's reinforced security vest and burned through. Agony exploded across his chest as the energy seared flesh and bone. The force of the impact threw him sideways. He crashed to the floor at the Emperor's feet. Smoke rose from the wound. The smell of burned meat filled his nostrils. Chaos erupted around him. Dragon guards wheeled and unleashed torrents of flame. The clique assassin and 2 accomplices were incinerated in seconds. Other security forces locked down the hall. Screaming delegates dove for cover. Alarms blared. Daniel could not breathe properly. Each gasp brought fresh waves of pain. His chest felt like it was burning from the inside. He tried to move, but his body would not respond. Blood pooled beneath him, warm and sticky. Faces appeared above him. Ambassador Wells was crying and holding his hand. Medics rushed forward with equipment. Voices shouted orders in multiple languages. Everything sounded distant and muffled. Then Emperor Salazar was there. The massive dragon knelt beside Daniel. His enormous form blocked out the ceiling lights. For the first time in 3 centuries, Emperor Salazar felt genuine shock. This human had taken a lethal shot meant for him. This fragile creature, who he barely acknowledged, had sacrificed himself without hesitation. Daniel's vision was fading. He forced words past his damaged throat. Did I get him? Is the Emperor safe? Salazar's voice was gentle despite its power. Yes, human. You saved this Emperor's life. What is your name? Daniel. Ross. Speaking hurt so much. The Emperor stood and roared commands in the dragon tongue. Bring the Imperium medical ship immediately. This human will not die. I forbid it. Commander Thrace of the Crimson Talons stepped forward. Your Majesty, he is only human. Our medical technology may not be compatible. The Imperium's resources should not be wasted on. The Emperor's roar shook the entire hall. Now, this human gave his life for mine. The debt of dragons is absolute. He will be saved, or you will all answer to me. Daniel's consciousness slipped away. The last thing he felt was the Emperor's claw touching his shoulder with surprising gentleness. The last words he heard were spoken in accented but clear standard language. Hold on, Daniel Ross. You will not die this day. The Draconix Imperium protects its own. Then darkness took him. Pain woke Daniel before consciousness fully returned. His chest burned with an intensity that made him want to scream. He managed a weak groan instead. His eyelids felt heavy like lead weights. When he finally forced them open, golden light flooded his vision. The chamber around him was enormous. Ceilings stretched 30 feet high. Medical equipment surrounded his bed. Some pieces recognizable from human hospitals, others completely alien in design and function. Holographic displays showed vital signs and data streams he could not begin to interpret. The air smelled strange, like heated metal, and something floral he could not identify. That a dragon moved into his field of vision. Smaller than Emperor Salazar, perhaps 9 feet tall, with emerald scales that caught the light. She wore something that resembled medical robes adapted for her winged form. Her claws moved across a holographic interface with surprising delicacy. She noticed his open eyes and approached the bed. You are awake, Daniel Ross. You should not be. The plasma wound destroyed 40% of your chest cavity. Your heart stopped twice during transport. By all medical logic, you should be dead. Daniel tried to speak. His throat felt raw and damaged. The dragon medic picked up a container of water and helped him drink through a flexible straw. The liquid soothed his throat enough to force out words. Why am I alive then? Because Emperor Salazar commanded it. We used Imperium regeneration technology on you. Your species has never received such treatment before. You are the first human to be saved by dragon medicine. I am Dr. Nishira. I have been overseeing your recovery. Daniel processed this information slowly. His thoughts felt sluggish and disconnected. How long have I been here? 2 days. You have been unconscious while your body integrated the regeneration treatments. The technology is designed for dragon physiology. Adapting it to human biology required significant modifications. You are fortunate that our species share enough baseline characteristics for it to work at all. 2 days. Daniel tried to sit up and immediately regretted the decision. Pain lanced through his chest. Dr. Nishira gently pushed him back down with one claw. Do not move yet. Your tissues are still healing. The regeneration accelerates natural processes but does not complete them instantly. You need rest. Where am I? The Imperium medical ship Crimson Dawn. We are currently in orbit above Harmony Gate. The Grand Convergence has been suspended following the assassination attempt. The galaxy is in an uproar over what happened. Memories flooded back. The weapon. The shot. Throwing himself in front of Emperor Salazar. The burning agony of plasma tearing through his body. Daniel closed his eyes and tried to process everything. Dr. Nishira brought up a holographic screen showing news feeds from across the galaxy. Daniel saw his own face repeated on dozens of channels. Headlines scrolled past in multiple languages. Human hero saves Dragon Emperor. Unprecedented sacrifice shocks galaxy. New era of human-dragon relations. You're famous, Daniel Ross. Every news service in the known galaxy has been broadcasting your story. The human who saved the Dragon Emperor. Your people are calling you a hero. Our people are reassessing their views on humanity. Daniel felt overwhelmed. I just reacted. I saw the weapon. I moved without thinking. Dr. Nishira tilted her head in what might have been a dragon version of a smile. You reacted by sacrificing yourself for someone you did not know. For a member of a species that has treated yours with disdain and disrespect. That is not mere instinct. That is character. The door to the medical bay opened. Even lying down, Daniel felt the presence before he saw who entered. Emperor Salazar moved into the room with controlled grace despite his massive size. His crimson scales gleamed in the golden light. His amber eyes fixed on Daniel with an intensity that was almost physical. Daniel Ross, you are recovering well, I'm told. Daniel tried to sit up properly this time, despite the pain. Showing respect to an emperor seemed important. Thanks to you, your majesty. I should be dead right now. You were dead. We brought you back. Dragon medicine is far advanced beyond what most species possess. We do not share it lightly. But you earned that gift with your blood and courage. The emperor moved closer to the bed. Now we must discuss what comes next. What do you mean, your majesty? The galaxy believes you are a hero. Your people demand your return. Ambassador Wells has sent 17 messages requesting access to you. Earth government wants you for medals and publicity tours. Your family wants you home safe. All of this is reasonable and expected. Salazar paused and his voice softened slightly. But I would ask something of you, if you are willing. Something that goes beyond duty or obligation. I would ask you to stay. Join my personal guard. Let me repay the debt I owe you. Let our peoples learn from each other. Daniel stared at the Emperor in shock. You want me to join the Crimson Talons? But I'm human. They barely tolerate my existence. You would not simply be another guard. You would be my advisor on human affairs. My bridge to your people. Daniel Ross, the Draconix Imperium is ancient. We have existed for 10,000 years. We have achieved wonders and committed terrible mistakes. But we have become stagnant. We repeat the same patterns. We isolate ourselves from other species because we believe we are superior. The Emperor's voice carried genuine emotion now. You show me something I had forgotten. You showed me that strangers can act with honor. That someone with no obligation to care can choose to care anyway. You reminded me that wisdom can come from unexpected places. The Imperium needs that lesson. I need that lesson. Daniel's mind raced. Leave everything behind? Join a Dragon Emperor's household? Become a symbol of cooperation between species? It was insane. It was impossible. It was also the most important thing anyone had ever asked him to do. I need time to think about this, Your Majesty. Emperor Salazar nodded. Of course. You have sacrificed enough already. This choice must be yours alone and made freely. But know this. If you accept, you will not simply follow orders. You will help shape the future of human and dragon relations. You will teach us to see your people as equals, and perhaps we can teach you something in return." The Emperor turned to leave, but paused at the door. "Rest now, Daniel Ross. Heal. When you're ready, give me your answer. Whatever you decide, you have earned the eternal gratitude of the Draconix Imperium. That is a gift few beings ever receive." After the Emperor left, Daniel lay in silence. Dr. Nishira checked his vital signs and adjusted some settings on the medical equipment. Finally, Daniel spoke. "Doctor, can I ask you something?" "Of course. Do you think this can actually work? Humans and dragons cooperating? Or is this just political theater that will fade away?" Dr. Nishira was quiet for a long moment. "I have lived for 400 years, Daniel Ross. I have seen many things. I have never seen Emperor Salazar affected like this before. He is not performing for cameras. He is genuinely moved by what you did. Whether that is enough to change 10,000 years of dragon isolation, I do not know. But it is a beginning, and sometimes beginnings are all we need." Ambassador Patricia Wells stood in the communication center of Harmony Gate and glared at the holographic display showing the Imperium medical ship in orbit. Daniel was up there, somewhere, recovering from injuries he sustained protecting a dragon emperor. An emperor whose people had treated humanity with barely concealed contempt for 2 centuries. Now those same dragons refused to let her see Daniel. The medical ship was sovereign Imperium territory. They could deny access to anyone they wanted. The situation was causing a diplomatic nightmare. A scaled hand appeared in the holographic display beside Patricia's face. She jumped slightly and turned to find Lady Sereth standing beside her. The dragon intelligence chief was smaller than most of her species, only 8 feet tall, with silver scales marked by black patterns. Her eyes were sharp and calculating. "Ambassador Wells, we should talk." Patricia crossed her arms. "If you're here to tell me I still can't see Daniel, you can save your breath. I am here because we have a common problem that goes beyond your guard's medical status. The assassination attempt was not a random act of violence. My agents have been investigating. What we found is disturbing." Lady Sereth brought up data files on the communication center's main display. Weapon schematics, financial transactions, and communication intercepts scrolled past. The plasma weapon used in the attack came from a black market dealer on Rust Haven, a mining world 3 systems from here. The dealer is dead now, killed shortly after the assassination attempt. Very convenient. Patricia studied the data with growing concern. "You think this goes deeper?" "I know it does. The dealer's records show he sold similar weapons to buyers from 7 different species over the past month. All the transactions were funded through shell corporations that trace back to a single source, an organization that calls itself the Syndicate of Ash. Never heard of them? Few have. They operate in shadows and prefer it that way. We believe they manipulate conflicts across the galaxy for profit. They sell weapons to all sides of disputes. They fund terrorist groups and independence movements. They ensure peace never lasts long enough to stabilize trade routes or establish lasting cooperation." Patricia felt cold dread settling in her stomach. A human-dragon alliance would stabilize hundreds of systems. It would cut into their business model significantly. Precisely. The assassination was meant to kill Emperor Salazar and destroy any chance of cooperation between our species. Your guard's sacrifice prevented that, but the Syndicate will try again. They cannot allow this alliance to succeed. Lady Sereth pulled up more files. "I need your help, Ambassador. I need human intelligence resources. My people are skilled, but we do not understand human criminal networks as well as we should. Work with me. Help me find these people before they strike again." Patricia made her decision quickly. "Agreed. But I have one condition. I need to see Daniel. I need to know he's really okay and not being held against his will." Lady Sereth's expression might have been amusement. Hard to tell with dragon faces. Emperor Salazar anticipated this request. "You may visit the medical ship. But Ambassador, you should know something before you go. The Emperor has offered Daniel a position in his personal guard. If Daniel accepts, your species will lose a good man to ours. And if he refuses, then this moment passes. The alliance becomes political theater instead of genuine partnership." Daniel Ross has become more important than either of us anticipated. 3 hours later, Patricia stood in the medical bay of the Crimson Dawn watching Daniel work through physical therapy exercises. A dragon physician named Garrett supervised while Daniel attempted to lift his arms above his head. Sweat covered his face, and his movements were shaky but determined. 10 more repetitions, Garrett encouraged. Your muscle tissue is regenerating well, but it needs stress to rebuild properly. Daniel gritted his teeth and completed the exercises. When he finished, he noticed Patricia standing in the doorway. His face lit up with relief. Ambassador, they finally let you visit. Patricia rushed forward and hugged him carefully, mindful of his injuries. You scare me half to death, Daniel. When I saw you go down, I thought we lost you. I'm tougher than I look, or at least dragon medicine is better than I expected. Daniel smiled weakly. I heard about the investigation. Lady Sereth briefed me this morning. This syndicate of Ash sounds like bad news. They are, which is why I need to know something. Patricia pulled back and looked him in the eyes. Emperor Salazar offered you a position. Are you actually considering it? Daniel was quiet for a moment. I don't know yet. It's insane, right? Leave Earth. Leave everything I know. Go live with dragons who spent 2 centuries treating humans like primitive children. But what? I've been here for 5 days now. I've met members of the Emperor's household. They're not what I expected, Patricia. They're not cold, superior beings who look down on everyone. They're people. They have families and fears and hopes just like us. They've just been isolated for so long they forgot how to connect with other species. A young dragon entered the medical bay carrying a tray of food. She was smaller than the adults, perhaps 12 feet tall with scales that shimmer between blue and green. She set the tray beside Daniel's bed and smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. I brought you lunch, Daniel. Dr. Nashira said you need to eat more to help the healing process. I got you the nutrient paste that tastes like chicken. Well, what humans think tastes like chicken. I tried it, and honestly it tastes nothing like actual chicken, but humans seem to like it. Daniel laughed despite himself. Thank you, Lydia. Ambassador Wells, this is Lydia. She's Emperor Salazar's niece. Lydia, this is Ambassador Patricia Wells. Lydia's eyes went wide. The Ambassador Patricia Wells? The one who negotiated the trade agreements with the Avix Confederation? I studied your work in my diplomatic classes. Your approach to multi-party negotiations is brilliant. Patricia found herself charmed despite her concerns. Thank you, Lydia. That's very kind. Daniel has been teaching me about human culture. Lydia continued enthusiastically. Did you know humans create fictional stories just for entertainment? Not histories or educational texts, but completely made-up narratives. Dragons used to do that thousands of years ago, but we stopped. We decided fiction was beneath us. How stupid is that? Daniel showed me human movies and music, and it's all so amazing. After Lydia left, Patricia sat beside Daniel's bed. She's sweet. She represents something important, Daniel said quietly. The next generation. If dragons like Lydia grow up seeing humans as equals, as friends, then maybe this alliance can actually work. Maybe we can build something that lasts beyond just one political agreement. Patricia sighed. You've already decided, haven't you? You're going to accept the Emperor's offer. I think I have to. Not because of duty or honor or any of that, but because this matters. Someone needs to bridge the gap between our species. Someone needs to teach dragons that cooperation is strength, not weakness. And someone needs to show humans that dragons are more than just scary monsters from ancient myths. You'll be representing all of humanity, Daniel. Every mistake you make will reflect on all of us. I know, that's terrifying, but it's also the most important thing I'll ever do. An alarm suddenly blared through the medical ship. Red lights flashed in the corridors. Garrett rushed to a communication panel and listened to a rapid stream of dragon language. His expression darkened. What's happening? Daniel demanded. We're under attack. 3 unmarked vessels just emerged from hyperspace and opened fire. The medical ship shuddered as weapons fire impacted the shields. Daniel grabbed the bed frame to steady himself while Patricia stumbled and caught herself against the wall. Garrett was already moving toward the door, his medical demeanor replaced by the rigid discipline of a trained warrior. "Both of you stay here," the dragon physician commanded. "The shields will hold, and our defensive systems are top tier. This attack will be brief." Daniel ignored the order and climbed out of bed. His chest protested the movement with sharp stabs of pain, but adrenaline pushed the discomfort aside. He had spent 8 years in security work. Sitting idle during an attack went against every instinct he possessed. "Daniel, you're still recovering," Patricia warned. "You can barely lift your arms above your head. And I can't just lie here while people are shooting at us." Daniel found his security gear in a nearby locker. His vest had been repaired after the plasma damage. He pulled it on carefully, wincing as the straps pressed against tender skin. Another impact rocked the ship. Somewhere in the distance, alarms continued their urgent wailing. The lights flickered briefly before backup systems engaged. Daniel headed toward the door with Patricia following close behind. The corridors were organized chaos. Dragon crew members rushed to battle stations with practiced efficiency. Their wings folded tight against their backs to fit through the passages designed for their large frames. Some carried weapons, while others coordinated defensive measures through communication devices. Daniel made his way toward the command center. A pair of crimson talons blocked his path, their eyes narrowed with suspicion. Before they could order him back to medical, Emperor Salazar's voice echoed through the corridor. "Let him pass." The guards stepped aside reluctantly. Daniel entered the command center and found Emperor Salazar standing before a massive holographic display showing the battle in real time. 3 sleek attack vessels circled the medical ship, launching volleys of missiles and energy weapons. The Crimson Dawn shields absorbed the impacts, but the readings showed shield strength dropping with each strike. Commander Thrace stood beside the Emperor, coordinating the defense. "Shields at 70%. Countermeasures are active. We have destroyed 8 of their missiles, but more keep coming. These are military-grade weapons, Your Majesty, not common pirates." Emperor Salazar noticed Daniel's arrival. For a moment, the Emperor's expression suggested he might order Daniel back to medical. Then something shifted in those ancient amber eyes. A slight nod of acknowledgement. If Daniel was well enough to stand, he was well enough to observe. "Who's attacking us?" Daniel asked. "Unknown vessels with no identification markers," Thrace replied without looking away from the tactical display. "They emerged from hyperspace directly on top of us. Coordinated assault pattern. Professional execution. This is not a random encounter." Patricia moved to Daniel's side and studied the holographic display with a diplomat's eye for detail. "The Syndicate of Ash. It has to be." Lady Sereth said they would try again. Emperor Salazar's claws clenched. "They dare attack an Imperium medical ship? They dare threaten my guest while he recovers from wounds received, protecting me." The Dragon Emperor's rage was a palpable force in the command center. He turned to Thrace and issued orders in rapid dragon language. Thrace grinned, showing rows of sharp teeth, and relayed commands to the weapons teams. The Crimson Dawn was a medical vessel, but it still carried defensive armaments. Dragon ships were built for survival, even in specialized roles. Plasma cannons emerged from concealed ports along the hull. Missile tubes cycled and loaded. The medical ship transformed into a predator. "Target their engines," Emperor Salazar commanded in standard for Daniel and Patricia's benefit. "Disable one vessel. I want prisoners to interrogate." The battle turned quickly. Dragon weapons technology was centuries ahead of most species. Precision strikes crippled the lead attack vessel, knocking out its propulsion systems. The ship went dark and tumbled through space. The other 2 attackers hesitated, clearly not expecting such fierce resistance from medical ship. That hesitation cost them. The Crimson Dawn's weapons tore into the second vessel, shredding its hull. Explosions bloomed along its spine before it broke apart in a cloud of debris. The third attacker broke off and attempted to flee. "No," Emperor Salazar said quietly. "They do not escape. Pursue." The medical ship rotated with surprising grace for something so large and gave chase. The fleeing attacker opened a hyperspace window, but Dragon weapons found their mark before the ship could jump. The vessel exploded in a brilliant flash of light. Silence fell over the command center. Thrace checked damage reports and confirmed casualties. Minor hull damage to sections 7 and 12. No injuries among the crew. Shields held at 42%. The disabled vessel is still intact. Emperor Salazar nodded. Send a boarding team. I want everyone on that ship alive if possible. They will answer questions before they die. The Emperor turned to face Daniel and Patricia. His expression was grim. This confirms what you suspected, Ambassador. Someone wants to prevent the Alliance. They tried to kill me at the summit. Now they attack my ship knowing Daniel Ross is aboard. The Syndicate of Ash reveals itself through action. Daniel's mind worked through the implications. They knew I was here. They knew the medical ship's location. That means they have intelligence sources, either on Harmony Gate or within one of our organizations. A troubling thought, Emperor Salazar agreed. But accurate. Lady Sereth will investigate. For now, we must prepare for the formal alliance ceremony on Earth next month. That will be their next opportunity to strike. We will not hide from this threat. We will face it directly. The Emperor's gaze locked on Daniel. I asked you to consider joining my guard, to help build bridges between our species. Now I ask something more difficult. Will you help me hunt those who wish to kill us both? Will you stand with the Imperium against the Syndicate of Ash? Not as a guard, as a partner. Daniel thought about the easy answer. Return to Earth. Let the diplomats and intelligence agencies handle the conspiracy. Go home to his family and his old life. Safe, simple, forgettable. Then he thought about Lydia's enthusiasm for learning about human culture, about Dr. Nashira's dedication to saving his life, about Emperor Salazar kneeling beside him after the assassination attempt, calling him worthy of dragon medicine, about the chance to build something that might last for generations. Yes, Daniel said without hesitation. I'll help you. I'll stand with the Imperium. Emperor Salazar's expression showed satisfaction. Then you will need training. Dragon Combat Technique. Imperium Protocols. Our methods of investigation and intelligence gathering. You will work alongside Commander Thrace and learn from the Crimson Talents. They may not welcome you at first, but they will respect you. You have earned that through your actions. Thrace stepped forward. The Dragon Commander had initially objected to wasting Imperium resources on a human. Now he studied Daniel with reassessing eyes. The human has courage. Courage can be trained into skill. I will teach him our ways. Patricia touched Daniel's shoulder. You understand what you're agreeing to? This makes you a target. The Syndicate will come for you specifically now. You're the symbol of human-dragon cooperation. If they kill you, they damage the Alliance. I know, but hiding won't stop them. The best defense is finding them first and shutting them down permanently. Daniel straightened despite the pain in his chest. Besides, I already took a bullet for the Emperor once. Might as well make it count for something bigger. A communication alert sounded. One of the crew members announced that the boarding team had secured the disabled attack vessel. Prisoners were being brought aboard for interrogation. Emperor Salazar smiled, a fearsome expression on a dragon face. Good. Let's learn who sent them. And then let us teach the Syndicate of Ash what happens when they threaten the Draconix Imperium and its allies. Daniel felt the weight of his decision settling on his shoulders. No going back now. He had just committed himself to hunting a galaxy-spanning criminal conspiracy alongside dragons who barely tolerated his existence. His mother was going to be furious. His sister would think he lost his mind. But looking at Emperor Salazar's determined expression and Thrace's grudging respect, Daniel knew this was right. Sometimes the most important choices were the hardest ones. Sometimes taking the bullet was just the beginning of the story. Daniel's first training session with Commander Thrace began at dawn the next morning. Dawn on a spaceship was an arbitrary concept, but the Crimson Dawn maintained a standard day-night cycle for crew health. Daniel arrived at the training deck still sore from his injuries, but determined not to show weakness. Thrace waited in the center of the massive chamber. The Dragon Commander wore minimal armor, just enough to protect vital areas. His wings spread slightly in what Daniel had learned was a combat-ready stance. Other members of the Crimson Talons lined the walls, watching with skeptical eyes. "You are small," Thrace observed bluntly. "Weak by our standards. Your bones are fragile and your reaction time is slower than a dragon's. You have no natural weapons, no claws or teeth worth mentioning, no armored scales. By all measures, you should not survive combat against serious threats." Daniel resisted the urge to respond defensively. He simply stood and waited for Thrace to continue. "Yet you threw yourself in front of a plasma bolt meant for the Emperor. Speed and strength did not save him that day. Awareness and decision did. You saw the threat my guards missed. You acted while we were still turning. These are skills that can be taught." Thrace's expression might have been respect. "Show me what you know, human." They sparred for an hour. Daniel used techniques from his Earth Defense Force training, modified for the low-gravity environment of the ship. Thrace moved with terrifying speed and precision, his strikes pulling back at the last second to avoid actually injuring Daniel. Each exchange revealed weaknesses in Daniel's stance and timing. "You relied too much on visual cues," Thrace criticized after Daniel failed to dodge a feint. "Dragons can sense heat signatures and air pressure changes. Many species have senses beyond human range. You must learn to anticipate rather than react." By the end of the session, Daniel was exhausted and bruised, but Thrace nodded approvingly. "Tomorrow we train again, and the day after. You will learn or you will fail. The Emperor has placed trust in you. Do not disappoint him." Over the following weeks, Daniel's days fell into a strict routine. Mornings with Thrace learning combat techniques. Afternoons studying dragon language and culture with Lydia as his enthusiastic tutor. Evenings working with Lady Sereth reviewing intelligence reports about the Syndicate of Ash. The interrogation of the captured attackers had revealed disturbing information. The Syndicate was larger than anyone suspected. They operated in dozens of systems with cells that maintained independence while serving the same ultimate goals: destabilize, profit, repeat. The formal alliance ceremony on Earth represented their greatest threat. If humans and dragons established genuine cooperation, it would create a power block too stable for the Syndicate to manipulate. They planned to strike during the ceremony with maximum impact. Lady Sereth spread holographic files across the conference table in her office. Daniel sat across from her studying attack scenarios and security assessments. Ambassador Wells joined via communication link from Harmony Gate, where she continued diplomatic negotiations. "We have identified 3 likely attack vectors," Lady Sereth explained. "Snipers positioned in the surrounding buildings, explosive drones deployed from the crowd, or a suicide bomber among the delegates themselves. Possibly all 3 simultaneously to overwhelm security." Daniel examined the layout of Geneva's diplomatic plaza where the ceremony would take place. Too many variables, too many angles to cover. We can't defend against everything with traditional security measures. "What do you suggest?" Wells asked through the communication link. "We go on offense. Don't wait for them to attack. Hunt down their operatives before the ceremony and take them off the board. Cut the head off the snake." Lady Sereth's eyes gleamed with approval. "Bold. The Emperor will support this approach, but it requires perfect intelligence and coordination between our forces. One mistake, and we reveal our hand without catching the real leadership." Over the next 2 weeks, human and dragon intelligence teams worked together in unprecedented cooperation. They tracked Syndicate communications, identified safe houses, and built comprehensive profiles of known operatives. The alliance was already bearing fruit even before the formal ceremony. Daniel found himself increasingly integrated into dragon society. The Crimson Talons still regarded him with some skepticism, but respect was growing. He had proven himself in training, matching dragons in awareness and tactical thinking even when he lacked their physical advantages. Lydia became his constant companion and unofficial translator of dragon culture. She explained the complex honor codes that governed Imperium society, how debts were recorded and repaid across generations, how challenges were issued and resolved, how family bonds intertwined with professional relationships. "Uncle Salazar has no children," Lydia explained one afternoon while teaching Daniel the formal greeting protocols. He dedicated himself to ruling the Imperium. My mother is his sister, and she thinks he's lonely. She says he needs someone who will tell him truth instead of just agreeing with everything he says because he's the Emperor. And you think I should do that? Daniel asked carefully. You already do. You question his strategies. You suggest alternatives. You treat him like a person instead of just a title. That's what he needs. That's why he respects you. Emperor Salazar summoned Daniel to his private chambers that evening. The Emperor's quarters were surprisingly modest given his status. Functional furniture scaled for dragon size. Holographic displays showing Imperium worlds. Personal items that spoke of a long life well lived. We depart for Earth tomorrow, Emperor Salazar said without preamble. The Eternal Flame will carry my delegation along with significant military escort. The Syndicate knows we are coming. They will be ready. So will we, Daniel replied. Lady Sereth's teams have identified most of their operatives in Geneva. We'll move against them the day before the ceremony. Simultaneous raids across the city. A sound strategy. But understand the risks, Daniel Ross. If we fail, if the Syndicate succeeds in disrupting the ceremony, the Alliance may never recover. Humans and dragons will retreat to our respective corners of the galaxy. Generations of potential cooperation will be lost. Then we don't fail. Emperor Salazar studied Daniel with those ancient amber eyes. You have changed in these weeks. When you first woke in medical, you were uncertain, questioning. Now you speak with confidence. You have found your purpose. Daniel considered this. I think I have. For years, I protected people who barely noticed I existed. Politicians and business people who saw security guards as furniture. But here I'm part of something bigger. The work matters. The people I'm protecting actually value what I do. The Imperium values you. I value you. You're no longer just a guard or an advisor. You're my friend, Daniel Ross. That is not a title I grant lightly. The weight of those words settled on Daniel. Friendship with a dragon emperor, a being who had lived for 3 centuries and ruled billions. It should have felt impossible. Instead, it felt right. The feeling is mutual, Your Majesty. When we are alone, you may call me Salazar. Titles create distance. I have enough distance in my life. Daniel smiled. All right, Salazar. Let's go to Earth and show the Syndicate what happens when they threaten our alliance. The next morning, the Eternal Flame departed the Imperium medical ship with Daniel Ross standing on the observation deck beside Commander Thrace. Ahead lay Earth, home, and the most important ceremony in human dragon history. Behind them, in the shadows, the Syndicate of Ash prepared their final strike. Earth filled the view screen as the Eternal Flame entered orbit. Blue oceans and green continents swirled beneath white clouds. Daniel had not seen his home planet in 3 months. It looked smaller than he remembered, but more precious. Everything he was fighting to protect lived on that sphere of rock and water. Hundreds of ships surrounded them in carefully coordinated formations. Human defense vessels and dragon warships maintaining joint patrols. The alliance was already operational even before the formal signing. Crews from both species communicated through shared channels, coordinating movements with increasing efficiency. Geneva awaited below. The city had been transformed for the ceremony. Banners displaying human and dragon symbols hung from every building. Massive screens would broadcast the event across the galaxy. Millions of people crowded the streets, some celebrating, others protesting. Change always created tension. Daniel stood in the strategy room, reviewing final security preparations with Thrace and Lady Sereth. Holographic displays showed every street, every building, every possible angle of attack. Human and dragon intelligence teams had worked around the clock identifying Syndicate operatives. We have located 43 confirmed Syndicate agents in Geneva, Lady Sereth reported. Another 27 possibles. Strike teams are positioned to move on your command. What about their leadership? Daniel asked. The broker. Lady Sereth's expression darkened. Still unidentified. Our sources suggest the broker will be present at the ceremony to ensure success. But we have no description, no biometric data. They could be anyone. Emperor Salazar entered the strategy room, wearing ceremonial armor polished to mirror brightness. His presence commanded immediate attention. The ceremony begins in 6 hours. I want all known syndicate agents arrested before I set foot on Earth's surface. Leave nothing to chance. Thrace saluted in dragon fashion, one claw over his heart. It will be done, Your Majesty. Daniel prepared for the descent to Earth's surface. He wore a formal uniform that combined human and dragon design elements. Ambassador Wells had insisted on the symbolism. Every detail mattered for an event this historic. His armor was concealed beneath the formal wear, Imperium technology that could stop plasma rounds and blade strikes. The arrest operations began at dawn. Coordinated raids hit syndicate safe houses across Geneva simultaneously. Human special forces and dragon commandos worked together with practiced precision. Most arrests went smoothly. The syndicate operatives never expected the alliance to move so aggressively. But 40 arrests still left the broker unaccounted for. Somewhere in Geneva, the syndicate's leader waited and planned. The ceremony plaza was packed with delegates from across the galaxy. Dragons stood among humans, Avix, Click, and dozens of other species. Security was overwhelming. Checkpoints at every entrance. Scanners searching for weapons and explosives. Aerial drones monitoring the crowds. Daniel moved through the security checkpoints with the dragon delegation. His credentials identified him as part of Emperor Salazar's personal guard. Human security personnel did double takes, seeing a human among the Crimson Talons, but waved him through. He took position near the main platform where the signing would occur. Emperor Salazar and Earth President Olivia Grant would stand together before billions of viewers. A moment that would define the future of both species. The ceremony began with speeches. Ambassador Wells spoke about cooperation and shared destiny. Dragon diplomats discussed honor and mutual respect. The words were important, but Daniel barely heard them. His attention focused on the crowds, scanning for threats. Thrace stood beside him, wings partially spread to create a defensive barrier. Stay alert, human. The broker is here. I can sense it. Someone is watching with hostile intent. A sniper round cracked through the air. Daniel saw the trajectory and shouted a warning. Thrace's wing snapped up, creating a shield of armored scales. The bullet rickled harmlessly away. Counter-snipers immediately located the shooter and neutralized the threat. Explosive drones launched from the crowd. Dragon guards unleashed precise bursts of flame, incinerating the drones before they reached the platform. Human security forces locked down the launch points and subdued the operators, but these were distractions. Daniel's instincts screamed danger. He scanned the platform itself, studying every face, every delegate. Someone close. Someone trusted enough to stand near the signing table. President Grant's security detail. One agent stood slightly wrong. Posture too relaxed. Eyes focused on Emperor Salazar with predatory intensity. Hand drifting toward a concealed pocket. Daniel recognized the signs a split second before action. The agent drew a plasma pistol hidden in diplomatic credentials. The weapon came up, aimed at Emperor Salazar's head from 5 feet away. Point-blank range. No time for dragon guards to react. Daniel moved without thinking. Pure instinct and training combined. He crashed into the assassin as the weapon fired. The plasma bolt seared past Daniel's shoulder, burning through his uniform. The shot missed Emperor Salazar by inches. They hit the ground together. The broker fought with enhanced strength, augmented muscles struggling against Daniel's grip. The plasma pistol clattered away. Daniel used techniques Thrace had drilled into him for weeks. Pressure points, joint locks, fighting styles designed for humans facing stronger opponents. He broke the broker's wrist with a sharp twist. The augmented assassin screamed and tried to reach for a backup weapon. Thrace landed beside them with ground-shaking impact. One massive claw pinned the broker to the platform. "It's over," Daniel gasped. "You failed." The broker laughed bitterly behind their disguise. "Did I? You think this changes anything? Dragons and humans will never truly trust each other. This is theater." Emperor Salazar stepped forward. His voice carried across the plaza through amplification systems. You are wrong. Daniel Ross has taught me that trust is not given, it is earned. He has earned mine twice over by placing his life between threats and target. That is not theater. That is friendship. Security forces dragged the broker away. The ceremony continued. President Grant and Emperor Salazar signed the alliance treaty while the galaxy watched. The treaty declared humans and dragons as equals, committed to mutual defense and shared prosperity. Daniel stood beside Thrace watching the historic moment. His shoulder burned from the plasma graze, but Imperium armor had prevented serious injury. Around him, Crimson Talons stood at attention, no longer viewing him as an outsider. He had proven himself one of them. The celebration lasted late into the night. Daniel found himself surrounded by well-wishers from both species. Lydia bounced with excitement, already planning educational exchange programs. Ambassador Wells hugged him and whispered congratulations. Even Thrace offered what might have been a smile. Emperor Salazar pulled Daniel aside as the crowds began to disperse. They stood on a balcony overlooking Geneva's lights. You did it again, the Emperor said quietly. You took the bullet for me, or nearly did. That's what partners do. They protect each other. Indeed they do. I have a question for you, Daniel Ross. Are you ready for the next adventure? Pirates have been raiding trade routes near the Outer Rim. I want to lead a joint task force to stop them. Human and dragon crews working together. You would command the security teams. Daniel looked out at Earth. At the home he would leave again. At the stars beyond where new challenges waited. At the Dragon Emperor beside him who had become a true friend. I'm ready. Let's show the galaxy what this alliance can do. Salazar's laugh rumbled like distant thunder. With you at my side, I suspect we will find plenty of trouble. But I would have it no other way. You showed me that the smallest gesture, one person shielding another, can change the course of empires. You showed me that courage is not the absence of fear, but the choice to act despite it. As the ship prepared for departure, Daniel sent a message home to his family. His mother would worry. His sister would think he was crazy, but they would understand. Some opportunities only came once in a lifetime. Some choices defined everything that followed. He had taken a bullet for a Dragon Emperor and changed the galaxy forever. Now the real work began, building the alliance, proving skeptics wrong, teaching both species that cooperation was strength. The eternal flame lifted from Earth's surface carrying humans and dragons together toward the stars. Daniel Ross stood on the bridge beside Emperor Salazar, ready for whatever came next, because sometimes taking the bullet was just the beginning of the story.